Lucilla, do you want me to start?
Good evening and thank you all for being here. Let's give today our particular welcome at the microphone of Psychedelia Storytellers to the pianist Miss Linda Ruan. It's a real pleasure to have you here with us. Good evening and welcome also to the English teacher Miss Caterina Lopardo and to the piano teacher Miss Pamela Pinto, who are listening and supporting me in this interview, prepared by me with some little curiosities. Let's start. Miss Linda, we know that you achieved a degree recently. What is your degree about and where did you get it?
Well, I just actually finished my second master's degree in Tianjin Juilliard, and the specialty was in chamber music. So it's a lot of ensemble playing over the past 2 years, which I've been enjoying a lot. But my degree before that, the master's, which I finished at the Juilliard School in New York, that was in piano performance. So more generally, a lot of solo playing, but also still some chamber music. But the past 2 years, I've been a lot more focused on chamber music, which was fun.
Okay. Then where do you live right now?
I'm currently in Vancouver. Okay. Yeah. So this is where I grew up and where I call home.
As the new experience, this new path, I mean the degree, has given you the possibility to know new musician with whom you have a fun, particular synergy.
Yeah. I've never studied in Asia. I actually grew up in a little bit of Japan and China for the first few years of my life. And it was a really fun experience to go back as an adult because I mainly grew up in Canada. And then actually in Tianjin Juilliard, a lot of the students are from Asia, whether from South Korea or Southeast Asia. So I got to interact with a lot of different people of different backgrounds. And to my surprise, it's just been a really fun experience getting to know a lot of new colleagues and those who I hope I'll get to work with for the long term in the future.
But do you meet them in Canada or do you meet them around the world?
I'm specifically talking about the people I got to meet in Tianjin, China, when I was studying for the past 2 years. But of course, I've met a lot of different people through my different places of study.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I follow your Instagram profile and I was reading some of your funny posts, which at the same time stimulated the reflection on the performance and on the way to improve the technical pianistic side, in which we consider relaxation, concentration, and breathing. I refer, for example, to the video dated 19th of April 2021, where you played a Chopin study with a book in your head. What exactly did you intend to communicate with that video?
Well, actually, that was a challenge I think that was going around, I think. So I did that, but also, you know, I have a problem of like moving a lot. Of course, that's a natural musical tendency of a lot of people, and I don't think really it's a problem. But one of the things my undergraduate teacher in my bachelor degree, he was trying to get me to do is, hey, if you sit still, you're able to control everything much better. And so I think that's what the book on the head serves. It keeps you still, and then you are able to free up your arm and hands a lot more because you're not moving with it. And physiologically, actually, it's a lot more. It's a lot easier if you don't move as much as your fingers and arms do. But that's still something I'm working with because I do move a lot, and that tends to get in the way of my playing. Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough. That was so long ago.
How do you usually prepare yourself for a performance? If you have a concert in the evening, how do you spend your day?
So like the day of. Hopefully, I'm well prepared and I'm not nervous. Usually, I usually don't tend to get too nervous unless it is I'm really unprepared. But if I'm prepared, I generally feel pretty excited. Um, I do try I do try to do, like, um, anyways, regularly a meditation or yoga kind of practice, but that's only on my good days when I'm very consistent. Um, because I find when I do yoga or meditation, my focus is better and I'm able to stay less distracted when I play or when I practice, even. And I try to do a little bit of a warm up, but play not too much. And if it's a concert in the evening, I don't usually worry about it until the evening. I usually go about my day as usual, probably just practice and warm up and do whatever it is I need to do. Maybe take a nap in the afternoon to reset kind of thing. And then yeah, just I don't really do anything special actually.
So you
So
spend a normal day.
yeah, especially once I'm about to go on a tour next season, and when I'm in touring mode, it's kind of like there's a concert every 2 days or 3 days, then I really can't, like, every day spend a special day to prepare for performances, so every day is almost like normal if I'm in that zone.
Okay. Just before you start to play, before going up to the stage, what do you think about?
I think about how excited I am to share music. Um, it sounds kind of cheesy, but that's what I try to keep in mind because it's so easy in our field, in our practicing, to get very self-critical and be like, ah, I'm not playing this well, I need to do this better. And you get focused about your own mistakes. But at the end of the day, the music is for sharing, it's to communicate whatever it is that you want to communicate with the audience. And I think I try to stay grounded in my gratitude, like in being thankful that I get to share this music and share this gift with other people. And that makes me feel much more excited rather than nervous or scared, which I used to be when I was a kid. But I think now I'm trying to get in the mindset that I'm excited and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share. Yeah.
Are you afraid of the public? If so, how do you fight it?
Um, I think honestly, ever since I was a kid, I loved attention. Even before I played piano, like my dad would make home videos and I would always be jumping into the frame. So I loved attention, and I think that's why I decided to pursue being a performer as a profession. Not so much because I love practicing, but because I really loved to perform for other people and to make people excited or, um, you know, enjoy the music. So I think I really try to keep their good experience in my mind when I'm practicing or preparing to perform.
Okay. How is a typical day of study? Do you do some warming up exercise on your instrument? Do you have any particular habit before putting your hands on the instrument?
I It really depends on the season, not literally spring, summer, or whatever, but just kind of I'm always trying to refresh my practice routine because if I'm doing the same thing for a long time, I tend to stop thinking about what I'm doing. It's so easy to just keep doing things without thinking. So I'm always trying to be as intentional as possible with my practice. Even just yesterday, I received a book in the mail, this book. So I'm always trying to like read new literature about practicing to be better about my practicing, and save more time, be more efficient, and that kind of thing. Um, but generally speaking, these days, which I've been back in Canada for about 2 weeks, and I have 1 more week before I have to fly back to Asia. But the current routine I'm doing is, I just start. I don't do any warm-ups, but I do practice etudes in the morning. Um, pretty slow. I wouldn't just go straight on and play fast and full speed, so I don't get injured. And I try to take breaks pretty frequently, like, every half hour or hour session, I try to take a little break, drink water, that's important, and take walks in between. And then I just kind of go through my repertoire. What I do try to do before playing to these days that I've been good about is write down all my goals on a piece of on my iPad. Actually, I write it down. Okay, 3 to 4 things that I really wanna get done, 3 to 4 things that if I have more time, I will try to do, and I try to be really, really specific about my goals, and I found that has been really helping me. Like, I would be like, "Okay, in the next 30 minutes, I want to, practice this part slowly with this, you know tempo," everything very specific, and that has been super helpful. So goal setting, and then after my practice, I've been trying to reflect and evaluate how my practice went. How focused was I? Was I excited when I practiced? Um, and were these and why? If I was distracted a lot, why was I distracted today? And that kind of evaluation, and then like, what can I do better tomorrow? But it really changes a lot from month to month, where I am, if I have access to instruments, at home, of course, I have access to the piano all the time whenever I want, but at school, it's gonna be different. If I'm in China in my family home, that's also gonna be very different, so it really depends.
And how often do you have the concert?
Um, so these few months I have a bit of a break, and when I'm in school, it tends to go like, when it's at the end of the year, I suddenly have a lot of concerts, but at the beginning of the semester, it's pretty much more relaxed. But for example, in the next month, I don't have any. Well, I think I have 1 concert, and then in August, I have 3, and then in September, I have, like, 10 maybe. So it really depends. My career is not so stable yet.
It depends on the month and on the
Depends on the
period.
month, depends on how I'm booked this season. Yeah, and depends on my study also. Sometimes if I'm doing a lot of chamber music, maybe I'll have a lot more concerts because the different groups will all have to have concerts. Um, yeah, so it depends.
Do you think that your multicultural way of living has possibly helped you on your artistic path?
I think so. I try to take everything as something positive because actually in the beginning of my training, my parents are not musicians, so they didn't know anything about classical music, and they're Chinese ethnically, so we weren't really surrounded by Western classical music at all. So when I learned, it was just purely I'm reading the notes on the music. I don't really understand what's going on. Um, so I think in the early stages of my training, I often felt like, oh, because I grew up in an Asian household who, don't really know about European classical music, I was at a disadvantage. But now having gone through conservatory training where like I've learned so much about classical music and Western classical music, now I feel like, oh, because of my different perspective, I don't take anything for granted. I don't just think this is always how music would go, and then that has given me a lot of new ways of approaching, uh, different kinds of music, and then keeping my mind much more open to the different kinds of music that's out there, especially now because composers are still composing new music, and for me, the experience of going back to China to study for the past 2 years has been very valuable in that way also, because I got to learn about a lot about Chinese composers and what they're doing, and other, South Korean composers and Japanese composers, and, they've been creating their own kind of language, musical language, in a sense, combining European traditions with Chinese traditions, and that's been really fun for me to explore as someone with that kind of background. Yeah.
Okay. What is the piano and the music for you? What do they represent?
Can you repeat the question again?
What is the piano and music for you? What do they represent?
Well, it's been my constant companion for the past almost 20 years, I think 18 years now. Um, and I started learning the piano when I was 7 in Shanghai, China, and it kind of came with me along to the journey. And as a kid, I moved around a lot, so I was always in different schools and different environments, and I think having music as my focus and saying that I'm a pianist as part of my identity, that was very helpful for me growing up to stay very centered and grounded. Um, I have to say as a kid, I really didn't like to practice, and I would never have imagined myself pursuing music as a profession. I think it was so music for me was kind of just something I had to do because, my parents said I have to, and then after a while, it became something that I found really rewarding because when I put in the work and practice, I'm able to present it to audiences, and then the audiences give me the feedback that they really enjoy it. And that became a kind of a positive cycle of like, "Oh, I actually don't mind putting in this much work if I'm able to get this kind of rewarding feedback and I get to do it as my profession." So yeah, I feel very, once again, very grateful, for music and that I'm able to pursue it as a profession, even though it's very unstable, as you can see, and very unpredictable at times. But yeah, it's something I'm very thankful for.
When did you feel you were having a success for the first time?
Huh. I think I think I'm still very much on I still consider myself an emerging professional, like, I'm not a full-time musician yet, I'm still studying, so but I think I will tell you when I decided to go into music was when I performed and, for some audiences in my hometown back in China, where they really didn't know anything about classical music because it's a pretty small town and not many people are learning classical music, and, you know, usually when I go up and play, I don't speak, back then, back in, like, 2010 or whatever, I would be so scared of speaking, but that time I thought, "Oh, they really don't know anything about classical music, I should try and explain something to help them enjoy it more," and then when I did speak, and I felt that people were listening much more intensely, when I performed, and then, I had some conversations after the concert, and it was just so rewarding to hear feedback when people actually were able to engage with the music or take something from the music, even though, I'm presenting music from, like, Germany back in the 1800s, and but people in the small town south of China were able to connect with this music, and that for me was, like, kind of mind-blowing, and, yeah, and that's when I felt, "Oh, I really succeeded as a musician because I was able to, you know, connect with people through the music that I'm playing."
Okay.
Yeah.
You also have been voted by a jury of young people, very young pianist member of the Psychedelia Project for the achievement of the first edition of the Psychedelia Prize Critic Award, Best Audience and Engagement. How did you feel about having been voted by the young people?
So happy, so excited. I think, oftentimes in competitions, people get really fixated about, what the jury says. But actually, for me, being voted um, by young people or junior juries. I've been on competitions where I've been voted by junior juries that they thought I was the most worthy, not but the people they like, maybe the musician they enjoyed the most or found the most engaging. That for me means a lot. I mean, it means a lot. I don't know if I should say it means a lot more, maybe, perhaps, because that's going to be my audience when I grow up. When you guys grow up, it's going to be you guys who listen to me, who come to my concerts, so I think that for me means so much. Yeah.
How do you choose your clothes for your performance?
It's whatever dresses I have, and I haven't gone dress shopping in so long, so it's been the same for the past 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question. How do you imagine your future?
How do I imagine my future? I hope I get to do I hope I get to continue sharing music in whatever capacity as possible, because I also really love teaching, and I think that's a great way of communicating the love of music with, young people and also older people. I've had adult learners, and just to share in the joy of the music in a very personal way. I also love, performing, obviously, and, I don't really like to limit myself in terms of, like, whether I'm gonna be a solo pianist or chamber musician because I love working with all the instruments. I've enjoyed working with singers, it's so much fun, and so I hope my future, I can have a very faceted, lots of different projects that I'm excited about doing, and yeah, I hope I get to have that choice to work with different people and a lot of different people and to play for lots of different people in the future.
Okay. We all thank you for your replies to our curiosity and for having dedicated your precious time. We wish you all the best for your future.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.